all, my name is Reggie and welcome to my channel. Today I will be talking about some historical fiction books. So this video is coinciding with the YA BookTube Awards, so I did want to remind you that voting is open. Go ahead and check the description box for all the information on how to vote. This is really a community-based event, and we can't do it without you guys supporting, stepping up to the plate, and nominating some books. Throughout the course of this video, I'm going to give you some ideas for books you can nominate for the historical fiction category, which is one of the categories I am a host for, or a judge for, I should say. Also, don't forget, there are 11 giveaways during the course of the YA BookTube Awards. One winner will win the best book from each of our 10 categories. The 10 runners-up will receive the best book from one category. So that's super exciting. So first up, I have 3 books that I highly recommend reading. They are books that are historical fiction, YA books that came out this year, and then I have a handful of books that I want to talk to you about that are on my TBR and I'm excited for and I think are going to be good. Let's first start off with the recommendations portion of this video. First up, we have The Pearl Thief by Elizabeth Wein. This came out in the spring and it is the prequel to Codename Verity. It is beautiful, follows our character from Codename Verity earlier in her life. And it's kind of like this mystery story, but it's definitely historical fiction, of course, set in the past. It's fun, it's great time, I highly recommend it, especially if you enjoy Elizabeth Wein's writing. This is different than her other books that I've read, but it was wonderful nonetheless. Also, another book that I know everyone is nominating for our category is The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzie Lee. This book is so good because it's one of those books that falls into multiple categories. So if you nominated it for the historical fiction category, please also remember you can nominate it for Own Voices and for LGBTQIA+ category. Any book doesn't have to just be in one category. Any book can be nominated for multiple categories. The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue follows our main character, Monty. He is from the 1800s, I believe, and he is, like I said, bisexual. He is wildly in love with his best friend named Percy. Monty, along with his best friend Percy and his sister, go on to travels across Europe, and shenanigans ensue, fun times ensue. It's funny, it's touching, it's emotional, it's wonderful. Really, it's a good time. And I highly recommend it. I think it's a really good coming-of-age story, a story about becoming way more self-aware. It's a cute story. The last recommendation I have to talk to you about today is Into the Bright Unknown by Rae Carson. And this is the 3rd book in a trilogy, and I loved the previous 2, and I've loved every book I've ever read by Rae Carson and given everything she's written 4 or 5 stars. This book follows our main character who has this secret witchy ability in which she can sense gold. She lives in the United States during the gold rush, which is a fantastic time. At least in terms of being an interesting historical fiction era, because we don't tend to get that many from this time period. So that's really cool. In the first book, our main character flees from her hometown in the South and makes her way west to California. It's kind of like the Oregon Trail, but you know, to California, not Oregon. And I highly recommend these books and anything by Rae Carson, but especially these books for historical fiction. I think they're amazing. I also really like that they're set in a different time period. If you want to hear more of my thoughts about the first book in the series, I do have a spoiler-free review. I'll link that in the eye, and it's also one of my favorite videos I've ever posted. So, yeah. Link in the eye. Check it out if you're interested. So that concludes the recommendations portion of this because that's the only 2017 released YA historical fiction books that I've read this year so far. So I'm also gonna sneak into this video a TBR of sorts. These are the 2017 historical fiction releases that I want to read. First, we have The Ship Beyond Time by Heidi Helig. This is the sequel to The Girl from Everywhere. This is a historical fiction that deals with time traveling. Speaking of time travel books, we also have Wayfarer by Alexandra Bracken. This came out in like January or February. I got it in January or February. I haven't read it yet. Next, we have Invictus by Ryan Groden. This is again a time traveling. Cast of characters sounds great. This book sounds wonderful, and I like historical fiction and time travel, so I'm in. The last time traveling book on my TBR is The Girl with the Red Balloon by Catherine Locke. This book sounds so good. I don't know how to describe it to you, but I've read the synopsis quite a few times, and every time I read it, I'm like, ugh, I want to read that book so bad. That sounds so good. Another historical fiction that was released this year that I want to read is The Valiant by Lindsay Livingston, I believe. This is about a female gladiator, and this sounds so good. I'm also itching to finally read Before the Devil Breaks You by Libba Bray. This is the third book in the Diviners series, and I'm just so excited for it because I love these books. The first one was mind-blowingly good. The second one was fantastic, so I'm really excited to see what the third one has in store. These are books about a main character who goes to New York and works with her uncle in an occult museum. There's like a paranormal serial killer on the loose, and good times, but it's set in 1920s New York City, and it's just fantastic. So good. And these next two are ones I just feel like I have to read. Both of them have 2 books in the series so far, and I haven't read either of the books in either of the series. So the first one is Anna Rise and Now I Darken by Kirsten White. These are a Vlad the Impaler retelling, gender swept. The last one I have to talk to you about is Stalking Jack the Ripper and its sequel, Hunting Prince Dracula. That's what it is. These are both by Carrie Manscolino. I'm excited because I don't really know much about Jack the Ripper. I think that's one of the cool things about historical fiction is reading about a book or a time period or a place and time in history that you, one, didn't get to experience, will never get to experience, and maybe didn't know that much about. Of course, an author will probably take creative liberties within their novel, but that's such a good starting place to get excited about a new historical time period and to delve into your own research about it. It's a good time. One of my favorite things about fiction writing is to kind of put you in a place you've never experienced and kind of start your journey into figuring more about that experience out for yourself. So that is all I have for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Keep in mind information about entering the BookTube Awards giveaway, information about voting for the BookTube Awards giveaway, all gonna be linked down below. Get excited. Giveaways, best books, talking about our favorite books. It's just a really good time. So get excited, get involved, follow us on Twitter, all that good stuff. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.
Baby, I beg you, yeah.